G'day everyone, welcome back to Me Some Mods. My name's Mitch, I hope you guys are doing well. We're doing something a little bit different today. We are doing a deep dive into this, the new PSVR2. I have owned this for about a week now, spent quite a few hours in it. We're going to do a bit of a deep dive, talk about the tech specs, talk about the games in the game library, talk about what this thing is genuinely like to live with as a VR headset. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you my honest opinions and thoughts as to whether I stand behind my decision to purchase this, and if I would recommend that you guys purchase one if you're in the market for a VR headset. I will leave timestamps in the description below, so if you want to jump between the different sections, feel free. Otherwise, stick around, let's get to it. First cab off the rank, we need to address the elephant in the room. And that is, this thing is expensive. Now, I'll caveat that. This thing is expensive by console peripheral standards. In terms of VR standards, it's kind of on par with most of the competition. It's a couple of $100 more than a Quest 2, but you are getting a lot more of a headset out of that. You're on par with sort of the HTC Vive or the HP Reverb kind of price range around there, and if I'm honest, this headset has probably got some better specs than those ones, so I think that's definitely worth noting. Now, there are also some perks and downsides. The whole PC versus console battle, mainly access to things like Steam and the game library that's on that, as well as the ability to mod your games, which is not really a thing you can do on consoles. So just something worth noting before we kick this off. In terms of actual price, the base headset, so just the headset and the hand controllers itself, is $880 Australian. That gets you the headset, the two controllers, and a charging cable. It comes in a nice box, it's well packaged, but you don't get a lot in it, that's it. It's just the headset, the hand controllers, and that's it. Or you can splash the extra $80 and get the Horizon bundle, which is what I did, and it basically saves you $20 off the price of the game if you get the bundle. Otherwise, the game itself is $100 to buy on the PlayStation Store at the moment. So yeah, you can save yourself $20 doing that if you intend on buying that game. If you're not interested in Horizon, don't do it. Save yourself the $80 and you can go and spend it in the PlayStation Store and get all the extra games. So that's the big elephant out of the room. By console standards, this thing is expensive as a peripheral. By PC VR standards, it's kind of on par with everything else, maybe a little bit higher than some, but it's also a lot better spec'd. So I just wanted to get that one out there. It's also worth mentioning that I bought this headset myself, paid full price for it, spent my own money. It wasn't given to me, so I have no allegiances to tell you guys anything other than what is the truth and how I have found it. So yeah, let's get in and we'll kick off this deep dive. Alright, nitty gritty tech specs, here we go. The PSVR2 features a 2K OLED HDR compatible screen per eye with Fresnel lenses. It gives you a refresh rate of 90 to 120 Hz depending on what game you're playing. The field of view comes in at 110 degrees, which is 10 degrees more than the original PSVR, and it's 15 degrees more than the Meta Quest 2, just to give you guys a bit of reference. Now, to connect this to your actual console, that's done by a 4.5 meter USB-C cable. It plugs directly into the front. There's no breakout box or any extra cables like the old PSVR, so it's nice and simple, quick and easy to set up and pack up at the end of the day. It's worth noting that this headset has haptics as well as the hand controllers, so you'll get vibrations in your hands. You'll also get vibrations on your face. If you're not expecting it, it'll catch you off guard like it did with me, because I didn't know it did that. PSVR 2 has 6 cameras on the actual headset. 4 of them are on the outside. They are responsible for the tracking and where you are in space within the room. There's also 2 infrared cameras on the inside of the headset, which is responsible for eye tracking. So it can do eye tracking, and it actually uses that when it comes to processing the image. If you've ever watched someone that's done a video stream of them playing through the PSVR, and you notice that some of the details on the edges of the screen are a little bit blurry, that's because that's not where their eyes are focusing, and it saves itself some processing power by not rendering that stuff. Now, it's worth mentioning that when you're in the headset, you don't notice this happening. Everything looks crisp and clean and nice. I've only ever seen it when you're watching the video of someone with what they're seeing. So that is the basic, very basic sort of tech specs on this. I'll chuck up a screen now, which kind of gives you a bit of a word picture. I'll put a few different headset specs in there so you can kind of compare it. Just hit pause if you do want to read the difference between all the different headsets. And yeah. All right, everyone, that wraps up our tech spec section of this video. Moving forwards, we're going to have a chat about games and the games library. There's currently 63 games available for PSVR2. A lot of them are indie titles. There's not a lot of the big name games, which admittedly it's very new still, so I wouldn't expect there would be a massive library to choose from just yet. I'll be curious to see in the future which games they are going to port across for VR2. Gun Club and that sort of stuff would be pretty good with the better graphics. No Beat Sabers in the works. They're in the process of doing all the patchwork to get it to work with VR2. Unfortunately for all our racing fans out there, I have seen some articles on Assetto Corsa and Competizione. They are not planning on making a PSVR2 compatible game, which is kind of a bit of a bummer really, because it was pretty good on PC and I never had anything to run it overly well on PC, but the bits I did see, it looked quite nice. So it's a bit of a shame that that's not going to come to PlayStation. But yeah, as I was saying, 63 games currently. They are constantly releasing new ones, and it'd be nice to see some of the big, well-known VR games ported across for VR2. The 3 games I've got so far is Horizon Call of the Mountain VR, which looks incredible. The gameplay in that is pretty good. It is a little bit motion sick inducing, but in saying that, this one actually does pretty well with when you set it to like the gentle effects. You get all the little the tunnel vision stuff happening when you turn too quickly. And for everything else, you can kind of just close your eyes. But in terms of actual gameplay and like hands and feet playing it, I guess you could say, it feels incredible. Like the aiming, it's the first VR I've had where aiming a bow and arrow actually feels natural. It doesn't feel out of place. You don't feel like you're kind of trying to fight against it to get into a weird angle to actually make everything line up in game. It's just kind of a natural, let it go, and it's on target almost every time. Gran Turismo 7, you guys have seen me play the crap out of that by now. Again, flawless. It's the first VR racing game I've been able to play that I haven't got motion sick in, and I sat there for a good 2 hours the other night. Zero issues. It looks fantastic. The details are so much clearer and more crisp in this, and it adds, particularly if you've got a racing rig, it adds a whole new level of realism. I don't know why, but if you saw the videos, there's video of me trying to press buttons because I was reading all the little lettering and stuff on each switch in I think it was in a Skyline. But yeah, looks phenomenal. The third game I have is Synth Riders VR. It's kind of like Beat Saber, but it's Beat Saber and cheerleading combined. It's kind of fun. It looks really cool. It's all like synthwave sort of neons and that sort of stuff. It looks like a Tron movie. It's pretty good fun. It's just sort of move your hands in line with what's going on the screen. Goes with the music. Again, all 3 games that I've tested so far have worked flawlessly. Honestly, I have no complaints. It's done what they've advertised it to do. The new headset runs them super well. Yeah, that's really it. It just works. All right, moving forwards, we are going to talk about everyday life and living with the PSVR2. Things we're going to cover off in this are going to be the hand controllers. Is it comfortable? How easy is it to set up? How easy is it to actually get in and start playing with it? Now, I'm not going to harp on about the resolution and the screens because we've already spoken about that in the tech spec section. I'm just going to say the HDR is good and the screen door effect is minimal. Other than that, the displays are great. Everyday life with this thing though, super easy to set up. It is a single cable, goes into the front of your PlayStation, takes you all of, 20 seconds to do that. Once you've actually got the headset on and you power it up, there's a little power button on the bottom. You'll have to do a bit of a room mapping, I guess you could call it. Even if you set up a temporary play area, it still needs to map your surroundings first, where you just have to physically put the headset on and look around the room. Once it gives you the happy chime that it's seen enough, you can set a temporary play area, which if you're racing is perfect. It's just a little circle it puts on the floor. But if you're playing adventure games where you're kind of going to be stepping side to side a little bit or like leaning large distances, you'll probably not want to use the temporary space because you'll hit the walls on it pretty quickly. So yeah, a couple of minutes and this thing is up and running from being unplugged on your shelf to plugged in on your face, ready to play a game. Couple of minutes max and you're ready to go. In terms of comfort, this headset is super duper comfy. The same as the PSVR1, very much the same feeling. Sony has carried on with that Halo, tried and tested Halo design they ran for the first one. PSVR2 is no different. It's still adjustable the same way. It's just a more modern version of what they already had, to be honest. Button on the back, the Halo extends and contracts. It's got a little dial on the back here to tighten it. Exact same setup as the original one, and it's just as comfortable. As I said, I wore it for a couple hours the other day and had no issues. Doesn't feel super heavy. It's considerably lighter than some of the other headsets that are out there. So in thumbs up all around for comfort. It's great. The hand controllers also super duper comfy. Once your hands are actually in it, they're not super heavy. Once your hand's in there, it all just kind of sits naturally where it would need to sit. Your fingers rest naturally on the buttons. My only gripe with these things is the awkward sort of wrist strap. It's not super bad, but it can kind of get caught up on your wrist when you're trying to put your hand in there, kind of like that, and then it's just, I don't know, it's unnecessarily fidgety for something that's that simple. I don't know, there's something about it that I don't like. But I mean, it serves its purpose. Once you've got it on, you got your hands in there, you don't notice it. If you launch your controller, it's going to be safe. It's just that initial when you're trying to put your hand through it and then put your hand into the controller. Just, I don't know, it doesn't line up quite properly. But other than that, once it's all up and running, this thing is amazing. It's comfortable. The controllers feel good. They track really, really well. I haven't had any tracking loss with it yet. Even playing Horizon, doing all the over-the-shoulder things for the bow and arrow and all of that sort of good stuff. So yeah, so far so good. In terms of build quality, this thing is really good as well. I have knocked it off my racing rig once or twice. Not great, but it is what it is. It happens. Yeah, zero issues. It didn't take any damage. There's no scuffs. There's no scratches. Everything still works. So it's good. Cannot complain. So yeah, everyday life and living with this thing has been easy. Compared to... It's not as easy as my Quest, I guess, because that thing you just put on your head and you're already going. But compared to the PSVR1, this thing is super simple. All right, ladies and gentlemen, down to the hard questions of the night. Honest opinions and thoughts on this headset. I'm going to split this into like things I like, things I don't like. The things I like well and truly outweigh the don't likes. So if you're wanting a quick answer for that one, that's that. But the things I do like, I like the overall build quality of this headset. The displays are phenomenal. It is super comfortable to wear. The hand controllers feel pretty good to hold on to. The overall experience is pretty damn good. The things I don't like, the bad. Not 100% sold on the material used for the surround that touches your face, the blackout skirt, I guess you could call it. It's a thin, it feels like a latex almost. It's quite thin. It does the job perfectly fine. I don't really have any complaints. I'm just curious to see how it's going to hold up in the long run. So it doesn't feel cheap or anything like that, but it is, I don't know, it feels kind of fragile. I'm worried it'll break. The only other downside to this headset that I have come across so far is the wrist strap on the hand controllers. I feel like it's on the wrong side. If they put it on the opposite side, so when you put your hand in, it's all kind of one movement rather than, I don't know. I haven't quite figured out what I don't like about it yet, but it gets stuck on my hand every time I try to put it in. That is it. Overall opinion is a positive one. I rate it. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with it and will continue to thoroughly enjoy my time with it. Do I regret my decision on buying it? I do not. As I just said, I absolutely love this thing. It's great. I did have some hesitations as I drove home. As I've mentioned a few times now, I do get sick in VR, depending on what game I'm playing, including car racing sometimes. Haven't had that as viciously as I have with my other headsets. So this thing has well surpassed my expectations on that front. And the moment I did my first race, all my concerns were well and truly gone. Do I think you guys should invest your money in one if you're in the market for a VR headset? If you're purely a console gamer, so PlayStation gamer, definitely. It is a great experience. If you're a multi-platform gamer and you've got the option of a PC, like a decent spec gaming PC that could also run VR, that's a little bit more of a hard question because you can get a lot of the similar sort of games or style of games. I guess it just depends on what you like to play. If you're like Gran Turismo through and through, kind of like I am, and you don't really play Assetto or any of that sort of stuff where you're going to want VR, then PlayStation is the cheaper and easier way to get in. It's also simpler for the setup, but PC gives you more options for games down the road. Plus, you also get that ability to mod. So if you want to go down the PlayStation road, I stand by this product. It is great. I love it. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you buy it. If you're umming and ahhing and you've already got half the stuff for a PC setup, that's a bit more of a complicated question, and that's one that I can't answer for you. They both have perks, they both have downsides. It's up to you to figure out what's going to suit your needs most. That wraps it up, guys. Don't really have much more I can say on the PSVR. You are going to see it featured in quite a few videos coming up because I absolutely love racing in this thing. It is so much fun. It's a whole new level of experience. If you guys have anything you want me to test in VR in Gran Turismo, or if there's any other games you want me to try on the PlayStation, leave me a comment down below. I'll, as always, try my best to get back to all of them. And if I've got the money there and I have to buy games to do it, then I will slowly trickle through that. Kind of like I did with the racing wheel when we were testing out a whole heap of different games. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys got something out of this. If you did, please consider clicking that like and subscribe button. I just punched the out of the table. Yeah, I will catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe. I'll see you on the track.